and welcome to the latest episode of the Sports Vibe podcast, brought to you by Vibe 107.6, with me, Noah Abrahams, joined by Ryan Thrussell. Well, it's Championship football next season for Watford, relegated from the Premier League. It's all gone pear-shaped for the Hornets. A campaign to forget, Arsenal put the final nail in the coffin, and it's Luton away come September. With no permanent manager, job losses, financial hits and relegation woes, what does the future hold for the Golden Boys? Ryan and I will look back at a year of questionable decisions and ahead to a fresh chapter for the pride of Hertfordshire. All on the latest episode of the Sports Vibe podcast. Plus, we discuss the National League playoffs as the Football League dream for Borehamwood Barnet draws to a close. All of that and more coming up. Hello, and we're back with this week's Sports Vibe podcast after Watford FC. Well, they were relegated from the Premier League. There's no other way of putting it, really. It's a really sad time for the town and the club, the loyal supporters, and Ryan, as a fan, it must just be so difficult.
Yeah, of course, it hurts, and it did hurt on Sunday massively because it's been a really tough season, and I think we've gone through every part of the roller coaster this year. You know, started terribly under Gracia. He was sacked. I probably thought it'd get a bit more positive under Flores. That horribly went wrong and left us, 9 points adrift at Christmas. And then obviously Pearson came in and things that's a bit more positive. And then obviously we had the break. And then since then, it's just been all negative, really. And apart from a couple of wins, which weren't really glamorous, it's you sort of known which way it was going. And yeah, it hurts. I sort of can remember 3 relegations from the Premier League, and obviously this one hurts the most. So seeing as we're a bit more established. So yeah, going down, not great, but you know, you'd always support the club you support, and you know, let's try and be positive and hope that it will just be a short stay away.
Of course, I think my view as more of a neutral, maybe playing devil's advocate, is that Watford haven't been good enough this season. I don't think we can sugarcoat it. I think there are too many, I think even board members sugarcoating what's happened to Watford, and you can't. They haven't been good enough this year. The football at the top end of the pitch and Ben Foster's end of the pitch hasn't been good enough. It's a business that revolves around results, and the results haven't been good enough. I think from Troy Deeney and his post-game interview after the Arsenal game to the attitude of some of the players that have come over in the past few seasons, it hasn't been good enough. In terms of decisions, was it the right decision to sack Gracia? Of course it was. Getting Quique Sanchez-Flores in, probably not the right decision. And sacking Nigel Pearson, of course, we don't know what's gone on behind the scenes, but that, in my view, was a bit of a disgrace, and I think in the view of the rest of the Premier League as well.
Yeah, I think that just became a bit of an embarrassment towards the end of the season as well, which is obviously hugely frustrating because Watford's always been seen as you know, a nice club, I think, to fans that don't support Watford. And now with all the sackings, and you speak to sort of other fans of other clubs, I had friends messaging me saying you deserve to go down.
The respect's gone.
Yeah, the respect's gone, and it's no longer little old Watford, and everything we did through the summer for the NHS and obviously the pandemic, and that's positive. You would have thought, let's come back and really build upon that, stay in the Premier League, and it's not happened. So yeah, as I said earlier, it hurts, but you can't dwell on it. It's only 6 weeks now till a new season starts, so things have got to happen quickly. And positive message, in my opinion, I know you don't agree, that Pozzo and Duxbury came out and took responsibility. And I know after Deeney's, let's say, interview after the Arsenal match, which did annoy a lot of fans, he's also released a statement to try and win the fans back on side. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting 6 weeks. It's going to be fast paced. I think there's going to be a lot of players coming in and out, and also changes probably. Well, obviously we know we need a manager, but maybe it could be Hayden Mullins. We don't know yet. I guess they'll let us know very shortly. But yeah, it's going to be a very bumpy 6 weeks, and let's hope that in 6 weeks' time it's a fresher looking side with the right mentality and get a good start to the season in.
And as you say, the next 6 weeks are really important. The players have 3 weeks off now, and then they're back in training. The club have already made decisions. In terms of the sporting director, it's rumoured that Cristiano Garetta, the ex-Udinese sporting director and the man who found Bruno Fernandes, could be coming to the club, so that's positive. Who's the new manager going to be? Who should the new manager be? It's a massively important decision. For me, it has to be someone that knows the Championship. I think, you know what, go with an Englishman. Go with someone who understands what English football's all about, and let's see if we can get back up into the Premier League, just like Aston Villa did when they went down. We don't want to go the way Sunderland did, and we certainly don't want to do what Stoke have done, which is kind of teeter at the bottom end of the Championship.
Yeah, I think the difference, Noah, is those clubs needed to rebuild. They were in a real dire situation when they got relegated, and although it's bad, I don't think they're in that situation. I feel like they've got the structure there. I don't think they'll do a Sunderland. I don't think they'll do a Stoke. It's interesting you say it should be an English manager. Just looking at the odds now, Claude Puel is still the favourite. I don't think he'll come to the Championship.
But that's the thing, does Claude Puel know the Championship?
No, I don't think he'd be the right person, in my opinion. Danny Cowley's available. I know he's hot regarded, but I don't think he'd be the right man under the Pozzos.
Just sacked from Huddersfield.
Yeah, so I think where you got to be looking is potentially either sticking with Hayden Mullins and Graham Stack because they know the club.
Yep.
But then I know there's been talks of Carvajal, the ex-Sheffield Wednesday manager. He does play good football, and I feel like under a new sporting director he could be a good fit, but he's already managing, and will you want to leave that role? And there's also been talks that I've seen about John Eustace.
Ex-QPR manager.
Was very hot regarded as well as with the Pozzos, and they were even talks to bring him in as part of Nigel Pearson's coaching staff. So could someone like him come back, seeing as he's...
Could someone like Malky Mackay come back?
Malky Mackay, yeah. I don't think he will. He'd be a good option. I just don't think his brand of football would suit the Pozzos and the type of sporting director. The way I think it's going to go is it's going to be someone that we are not talking about now, because it's always the case with Watford managers. I've just seen Nigel Pearson's also on the list of favourites to come back, which is obviously just a joke really from the betting people. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be someone that we know or that we're talking about now. But in my opinion, they need to get it done quickly, because if they want certain players to remain and they want to start looking at recruitment, there's going to need to be some kind of stability in the club, something that we've not had at all for the last season, and really that needs to be looked at and sorted out soon. I think it will be. I think by the end of next week we'll know who the new manager is, and let's hope that gives a bit of a fresh pump into the club and re-blow up that balloon to make it more positive again.
Let's hope so. I always remember speaking to Curtis Davies, who's the Derby County defender, and he said that when Lampard left, they left it so long for Philip Cocu to come into Derby that by the time he came in, it was such a quick turnaround that he wasn't used to managing a club like that, and it just wasn't right. So I agree with you. It has to be quick that they get a new manager in. In terms of ins and outs, it's not just going to be managerial, it's players. Kiko Femenia is rumoured to go off to Valencia. Probably lose Ismail Assar, Decore, Cabaselli. What do you think about these players coming in and out? Who's going to stay, who's going to go?
Well, let them go, it's my opinion, and it sounds harsh, but they haven't done their jobs this season, so why should we stick behind them? You know, you'd look at the start of the season, you think Decore, Capu, you've got to feel sorry for Deulofeu, really, because he's been injured. But yeah. I guess the one player that I'm going to be most gutted about going is probably Sarr, because he was that wizard really in the side, and one to really get the fans going, and it was exciting to pay the money to go and watch. I mean, that Liverpool game, my word, he was literally
outstanding.
Breathtaking, one of the best performances I've ever seen at Vicarage Road. But as I go back to my point, let them go. I think a fresh restart's needed. Femenia hasn't been good enough at right back, one of the areas we should have improved on at the start of the season. Poo, Decore, I think they'll move on. I don't think they want to play in the Championship. Sarr, of course, could they look to maybe loan him out and with a hope of bouncing back, potentially send him abroad? Maybe, but I think there's going to be lots of clubs interested in him. Deulofeu will go.
He's not going to play in the Championship.
Who's come through the Barcelona academy will want to turn up to Luton
and
away
to
Wickham away, for example. Maybe because of his injury, he may stay till January if they can't shift him on. You might see him in the Watford shirt again, but I'll be very unlikely. But then it could be another loan deal for Deulofeu that might see him go. Yeah, I think the biggest talking points, of course, will be Troy Deeney
and Will Hughes.
My opinion, most likely I can see staying out the two will be Will Hughes. I think maybe it's the right time.
Give him the captaincy.
To give the captain's armband over. And Troy Deeney will probably think about that as well. And he may decide that it's not right for him to stay on in the Championship. And, Troy Deeney took a lot of flack this season, but I mean, let's be honest. The career he's had at Watford is remarkable, and what he's achieved, and the goals he scored, and big goals, and getting us up to the Premier League as captain. He is an important club. He is an important player, and I think that if he does go, fans will reflect on what he's done for the club and actually think, he is a legend. So I think I will never ever stand here and criticise Troy Deeney. Maybe for his performances when I'm annoyed, yes, but not in terms of what he's done at the club. So it's going to be a quick turnaround of players, I think, but they've got to recruit in the right areas. And I know that obviously I've been keeping on top of Adam Leventhal's articles that they're putting a lot of hopes into Ben Wilmot coming back from Swansea, potential leader of the club in the future. Had a good season with Swansea, of course, scored against Cardiff, which made him a legend. And there's players also to return from abroad. Ken Sema could have a very good season in the Championship. You've got Cucho Hernandez, Luis Suarez. Although
not the Luis Suarez.
No. There's question marks over whether or not they'll play. But then you've got Peñaranda, João Pedro as well, and these players, will be given a chance in the Championship. And
plenty of youngsters.
It could be what starts, and obviously Keena as well. Chalabar, I think, will stay. I think.
What about Danny Welbeck? Danny Welbeck's really interesting.
Danny Welbeck's an interesting one because you'd think, well, a player who's played for England,
played for Arsenal at the top end of the Premier League,
played for Manchester United. When he has played for Watford, he has scored. I think he could be. I think along with Andre Gray, Danny Welbeck could be a real asset next year. And actually, I think if I were him, I think Championship football, week in, week out, it's not the worst division to play in. Probably scoring goals every week. I'd stay. I don't think he will. I think that if an offer comes for him, that I think he's shown against Arsenal and against Norwich when he scored those goals, he's a valuable player to play in the Premier League. And whether a team like
Besiktas.
Well, I was talking about Premier League, but I know Besiktas have been interested in him. But if a team like Everton came in and made an offer, or I think that with his age and with the backup options Watford have, I think he'll move on.
Okay, so plenty of transfer talk. The rumours are flying around. Will Deeney go to Burnley? I've heard from Birmingham City. I've heard that's a rumour. Will he go back to his boyhood club? No one really knows. And like you say, Deeney's been a fan favourite. He really is the golden boy in the Hornets nest, and look, you can't criticise what he's done. I think you can criticise his performances this season, but overall he's been an asset that no one else will ever be able to replace at Watford. So fair play to Troy Deeney, and whatever happens with his captaincy and with his future at Watford, we wish him all the very best. Hopefully he stays, but with his injuries and with everything else going on, we're not sure. How's it going to affect the town of Watford? Because not only are the club going to lose between 60 and 80 million, they'll get parachute payments, but they're going to lose a lot in revenue, job losses, and then, of course, tourism into the town. This could really affect the local area, Ryan.
Yeah, it can, and I think as a local station for this area, it's important we discuss this. I know Peter Taylor, the Mayor of Watford, was on the Drive Time show and says, having a Premier League status obviously puts Watford onto the map, and, now... I mean, it doesn't really. I mean, if you think of Championship clubs or clubs that have fallen away, you don't really think of them as much. You may scan through and look at the results, but in Premier League, obviously, the news is there. It's national news. If you're playing a club like Chelsea, Man United, obviously that's always going to be spoken about, and with the fan bases, and obviously little old Watford was always there. So yeah, it's a tough time for the town. I know that it's been a tough week, I think, as well, with also what's going on. Obviously, John Lewis is closed, Debenhams is closed. It feels like sort of some of the heart of the town is leaving. But I mean, the best thing really is that Watford try and put all their efforts into getting back up, and a promotion pushes are exciting. It's going to be tough if fans can't go to Vicarage Road. I know that they're going to trial fans going back, but if there's only 2,000 there, then not everyone's going to be able to go, and then obviously the away fans definitely won't be going. So yeah, it's going to be a tough year. They've obviously lost TV money deal from the Premier League. I know that Championship clubs, most likely all of them, will still be televised, but it's not going to be the same. But there's going to be more football, and if Watford do have a positive season, it could change the outlook again, I think.
So we wish Watford the very best of luck, and we'll talk about them in the next few weeks as we get the podcast back up and running as the season kicks off again. The season ended for Borehamwood and Barnet over the weekend, which was a real shame. Both of our local sides into the National League semi-finals, the playoff semi-finals. Both lost. Borehamwood to Harrogate Town, Barnet to Notts County. I've always said Luke Garrard deserves to manage in the Football League. As for Darren Curry and Barnet, it was a phenomenal achievement getting that far. It is sad though, isn't it? It's sad that they couldn't quite battle it out for a Football League status next year.
Yeah, I mean, we were obviously putting all our hopes into a derby as a final at Wembley, which would have been fantastic, but it's not happened. I was following the results on Saturday, and obviously it was 0-0 with Borehamwood and Harrogate Town to quite late in the match, and obviously Harrogate scored the winner, which, you know, which was sad because obviously Borehamwood have a real soft spot for him, and I was really hoping that this could be their year. But with the football that they've played at this time, it could benefit them into next season because clubs have to get going again, and Borehamwood are in the mindset to play competitive matches. So that could give them a real kick at getting going. I know that National League's not planning to start till October, is it?
No, so they've got a bit longer.
A bit longer than Premier League and Championship. But I mean, Barnet, look, they're always going to challenge in that league, and they're putting
a lot of money in Barnet.
They showed their quality coming through towards the end of the season. I think they'll be up there. Whether or not Luke Garrard's side will be able to just challenge again, I don't think they'll challenge for the promotion spots. I think they're going to have to look at the playoffs again and unfortunately go through that if they do make it. But, you know, they've got the side, Borehamwood, and they've proved under Luke Garrard that they can challenge. So, yeah, let's hope that next season, that with a positive start, that they could go even one better. And it would be lovely to see Borehamwood and Barnet and Wealdstone all batting it out at the top of the National League.
Absolutely. 3 of our local sides are next year, all in the National League. So we'll try and get down as Vibe 107.6, your local station, to as many games as we can. I think that's just about it from us this week. So Watford relegated, Borehamwood, Barnet and Wealdstone all in the National League next year. St Albans City in the National League South, as a Hemel Hempstead, and Stevenage also in the National League.
Yeah, it's going to be, we might as well just create a National League podcast.
I think we should do.
Yeah. So lots of football to talk about. It'd be nice once all the clubs get going again, including Hemel as well. We'll follow Hemel in the National League South now. Feeling a bit lonely down there with St Albans, I'd imagine. So, let's give them a bit of talk as well, and hopefully we can get some of the managers and players on going forward.
The future's looking really good, Ryan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's hope next time we talk about a new Watford manager.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Hopefully it's someone we've heard of and someone who we believe in and someone who can get Watford back up into the Premier League.
Yeah, we look forward to it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ryan.